Welcome back to Sunday Vibes, one and all. We're back in the Rookery Pub on Clapham Common. Look who it is, the Mustard Menaces.
This isn't mustard, you're so colourblind.
Well, what colour is that? Sand?
Camel.
It's not a camel either.
What is it?
It's like an ochre. It's like a dull ochre.
An ochre, that's mustard.
That is mustard. That's mustard.
Mustard, you know, the
Colonel mustard,
squeezy,
Cluedo.
Yeah, how are you boys? Both good?
Yeah, good man. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad actually. I've hurt my back a little bit. And there's nothing worse than a bad back, is there? It just kills your entire week. And then I spilled a full pint of water on my laptop. Honestly, there wasn't a drop on the desk.
Every single drop of it.
There wasn't a drop on the desk. The whole thing was on my laptop. I put it in a Monopoly box in rice, filled it and covered it with rice, and it's 80% working.
Does that actually work?
Well,
I know people always like, I did it, and I always think that's.
I had hairdryer on it. I had it in rice. Honestly, it was it was like a comedy sketch. It was so bad, but it's now working to about 80% of its function.
That's a bit like my body. I went to a Blaze class this morning at 6:30.
What? A Blaze?
Yeah, a Blaze class, and at the end of it, just like multi-workouts.
Oh, right.
And then at the end of it, he went,
something
3,
else.
2, 1, Blaze! Like, as in, that's what he wanted us to say.
Just Blaze!
Yeah, so I'm never going back. Awful. Cringe.
You just sparked up straight away when you said that. 3, 2, 1, like,
Should probably go with the brand plug.
Yeah,
it's in about 3 minutes.
Yeah, we should get on with the brand plug, because this week's episode is, of course, brought to you by Manscaped. Approaching Valentine's Day, aren't we, gentlemen? Very, very nearly there. And I've been told to ask you, how's the Performance Package 4.0 going to affect you, Christopher?
Or how it will help out for Valentine's in, what, 2 weeks?
Yeah, I need to book somewhere.
I'm going to use the Lawnmower 4.0 shaver. Is that what it's called?
It is.
Yep, to shave a love heart into the neighbour's cat, and then I'm gonna.
All right, okay.
And then I'm gonna present it.
Yeah, I was really troubled then.
Then I'm gonna present it to my girlfriend as if it's Simba. And even if she doesn't see it, someone will see it and feel the love. So that's what I'm.
I thought you were going to say something else there. Shave it into something else. What are you going to be doing?
What a transition. Yeah, maybe the cologne. Maybe the cologne is a good one for people this year. If you're looking for a little change of scent, then maybe this one, which claims to be refined. And who among us could disagree? Like, that might sort you out this Valentine's Day.
I like the smell of that. I'm going to be having this one then. If you two are taking the other ones, I often do get rogue nose hairs. And Chloe will sometimes...
It's the thing you've got to be on as a man.
And it freaks
like
me
violin
out.
strings, isn't
I don't really like it. So, yeah, you guys at home can get your hands on some of this goodness as well by going to manscaped.com, using the code FootballDaily20, getting 20% off all products as well as free shipping ahead of Valentine's Day. Sort it out. So the link's in the description below as well. Let's crack on with the football chat then, shall we? Because we're talking today about which club has failed in the January market. Because there's been a few. I think this has been a pretty gopping window for a lot of clubs.
It's not been good.
To be honest with you. The question really was sent in by only one Chad, who said, why are Newcastle finding it so hard to sign players? We flipped that. We reversed it into failures across the board.
Yeah.
Should we start with Newcastle, though? Because are they failing now they've got Bruno Guimaraes through the door?
No, I think that's changed the window from being like whatever to being a good window. Like, they've got in a quality midfielder who frankly should be above their level.
Champions League level.
And I think every team is kind of thinking, oh, if Newcastle go down, this could be interesting. Kieran Trippier, which is fine. It's an upgrade, certainly. And Chris Wood, who is kind of whatever. They overpaid for him, but like, as not even their first choice striker, that's a massive upgrade. So I think this has been pretty solid work. They definitely still need a centre-back. But I don't know, playing Joe Linton in midfield, like, if everybody's fit, you can now see a path to a decent side that beats relegation, which before Christmas was a lot harder to imagine.
Yeah, I mean, Bruno Guimaraes, to get that deal over the line, obviously it's going to cost them a bunch of money. They're probably paying about 200 grand a week, but they're going to have to pay that in order to get that level of player to come to a club like Newcastle. Big fee as well, I think 48 million euros, something like that. Not all
Chance
of it
to pay
up
under
front.
Eddie Howe.
Not all of it up front. Obviously,
Diego Carlos fuming that he's not picking up that bag, by the way, because he was so keen.
All of that bag from Diego Carlos has gone on Bruno Guimaraes, hasn't it? But,
fair enough.
I mean, this is a guy who we were touting as potentially Arsenal level, potentially Manchester United level. In the summer, Real Madrid were having a little sniff about him. His numbers are exceptional, both progressively and defensively, which is something that Newcastle have needed so badly because they don't really have a defensive mid. We were speaking a couple of weeks ago about the need for that position and somebody that can progress the ball. This guy should be playing Champions League football. So for Newcastle to have pulled him off, to have pulled it off, not him off. This
might have been part of the deal.
I know, this is a quite frankly unbelievable move. I mean, I couldn't believe when I saw it.
I mean, their approach has been fairly sensible. Probably quite naive to go and attempt to sign 3 Brighton players towards the end of the window. Like, imagine taking that call as Dan Ashworth, like. Well, I don't even know if Dan Ashworth is he going to take Newcastle's offer up of being director of football? They were pursuing him as well, weren't they? But rumour has it that when they failed for Diego Carlos, when they failed for Sven Botman, they tried to buy Dan Burn, who is of course a local lad, so pulling on the heartstrings there.
And that might still
failed
happen.
with the £10 million bid there. I don't know if they're going to go back in towards the end of the window. And then of course they made an inquiry about Yves Bissouma and Adam Webster, who is just completely essential to the way they play and is one of the best passing defenders in the Premier League.
And signed a new 5-year contract in August.
So Brighton must have just been like, listen, inquire about one and we might consider it, because this is the January transfer window. Replacing one player is hard enough. That's why they didn't get Carlos, right? Monchi said that their offer was, he went, it's okay, it was respectable. And he said, if this offer had happened in the summer of 30 million euros, we might have accepted it. So yeah, I think they probably will get Carlos if they stay up. They'll probably go back in for him in the summer. Sven Botman apparently wasn't keen, and I totally respect that. Sven Botman not about getting paid. He wants to go to a Champions League club. I think Badia Shil was their other defensive target from Monaco. He's now pulled his hamstring, or he's pulled his hamstring a couple of weeks ago. I think he's missed a fair few games and is due to be back late February. So that probably wasn't very sensible targeting him. That's not what you want when you're fighting relegation, is it? An unfit centre-half bedding into the side,
who's also still a teenager.
Yeah, so a real mixed bag. But this Guimaraes signing, like you said, swings the pendulum, doesn't it? Like, it's been a bit chaotic, which I'm not surprised about, because there's no executive structure at Crystal Palace, at Newcastle. I think it's Amanda Staveley and Ruben that's doing the dealings at the moment, as well as Steve Nixon.
They've got an advisor in for transfers in the interim before they get, I forget his name, but he was previously working with Rangers, I think.
No, Celtic.
Celtic.
It was Nicky Hammond.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, Nicky Hammond, and that makes sense because he probably spent the best part of last year sounding out targets for Eddie Howe at Celtic.
Yeah, exactly.
so that's not a bad idea. Steve Nixon, I think, is growing there. He might be their head of recruitment or something. I think he's wielding a little bit more power now. It feels like these are some of the signings we'd try and make if we took over at Newcastle, right? Like Guimaraes, Bissouma. Like, they're solid, statistically driven signings.
Trippier potentially as well. I think that's an all right move to get somebody like him in the door. Maybe a little bit of an overspend on Chris Wood, particularly if Burnley do manage to get that Wout Weghorst deal over the line, which maybe we'll talk about later.
Class.
Because, by the way, he's 6'6". But I do think they still need a centre-back. I don't think Dan Burn is necessarily that guy either. I think, we've seen him operate pretty consistently on the left for Brighton, and very well as well. He is obviously a unit.
Can play centre-back in a back three, I guess.
Back three, but I don't know whether he's going to operate in a centre-back in a back four, and whether or not he's the kind of immediate impact centre-back they need to get results over the line.
Up straight away,
although he is a Newcastle fan, which I'm sure would help that deal get over the line, and whether or not they can make it happen remains to be seen. We're shooting this on Friday. By the time it's Sunday, it could well have happened. We don't know. So I think another centre-back name would really push this from like a 6 or a 7 window so far to like an 8.
Well, they also still want that link player, don't they, in midfield? Like, between midfield and attack. Like, they've gone for Dele Alli, they've gone for Lingard. Like, this is clearly a profile they're targeting. I'm not really sure who else would be on the market, but I kind of think that those kind of cut price moves or loans for people who are out of favour, I think that's kind of a sensible thing to do.
Yeah, Lingard would be an exceptional signing for Newcastle. Like, obviously that deal has fallen through at the time of recording because of Man United's demand to have a relegation saviour clause put in. So they are saying to Newcastle that you can have him, but we want £2.5 million for a loan fee. We want all of his wages covered, and if he keeps you up, if you stay in the division, you're worth 12 mil. So it's a big gamble for Newcastle, because that's like overall it's probably like 15-18 million pound move. It's quite an expensive signing for 6 months.
Yeah,
but if you stay up, like, I mean, my attitude is, it's kind of like Sevilla, like trying to get in Martial, and they were trying to get Lo Celso as well at one stage. And you think you got a chance to win a title, a pretty decent chance. It's been 75 years since you won a title. Like, is it worth that financial commitment? Probably. And from Newcastle's point of view, if they were to get in Lingard and they were to stay up, they'd be like, who cares? Right off the 12 mil. Don't give a shit.
If this was like a Burnley or a Southampton or maybe even a Leeds, would be saying that's quite a reckless way to use your limited funds. But those rules don't apply to Newcastle, so maybe we shouldn't look at it through that lens.
But they did spend 25 mil on Willock, who I presumed was going to be that guy who drove into the box.
We all
from
said
midfield
at least
and
he's
played
young
just
and
like a striker.
homegrown. Like they'll get something out of Willock. Like Willock's not really a problem for them because I doubt he's on big wages either. Like. Yeah, I mean, maybe Willock will find a role under that, or maybe, Joe Linton will change again, like with Bruno coming in, maybe he can push a little bit further forward again. Like, it'll be interesting to see what happens with it, but...
Maybe if we play like floating eights, Willock might find a home in that system. I see him being like similar to Mason Mount in some ways.
He's like Mason Mount under Lampard at the beginning, where like he wasn't actually on the ball that much.
Off the ball, yeah.
Like he's kind of like Conor Gallagher this season.
Yes,
like that would be a good role for him.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, who knows? Like Bruno does really change the calculus, and so does Trippier. Like those two guys are so ball dominant; they're going to do so much ball progression that it means that suddenly you can get people in the team who maybe add a little bit less on the ball, but add a little bit more with their running. So I think it would be really intriguing for Eddie Howe to try and put something together here. And actually now I look at this squad and I think Eddie Howe probably should keep it up. It's pretty good.
I mean, his shopping list was 2 centre-backs, a number 6 who he's got in Bruno, an attacking midfielder.
Hasn't got.
And, I like this, perhaps a left-back and a goalkeeper.
Yeah.
And they got a right-back.
But the left-back situation does need addressing as well. I know that Dubravka in the past has been very solid, but has had shaky moments this season. But that must be right down the list of needs, given that they still haven't got any centre-backs through the door.
And on his day, a solid goalkeeper,
And they're linked to Leno as well, aren't they?
Yeah,
but I just don't think it's priority.
Do we want to talk any more about Newcastle? Or are we going to be at this moment then? Let's say that they get a centre back through the door, because I feel like whoever it is, eventually somebody is going to come. Whether it's Nat Phillips, whether it's Joe Rodon, whether it's
Issa Diop, they've been linked with as well.
Badiashile comes in as a risk. Issa Diop, yeah, like you say.
A couple of boys at Torino as well, and they're the third best side in Serie A, I think, from a defensive standpoint this season, both in terms of goals conceded and expected goals against.
Oh, like Bremer?
Yeah.
Yeah, that guy.
Try and convince Ginter to reject Inter and then come down to the Toon or some madness like that. Let's say that does happen. We're not saying this is a failure of a window for Newcastle, right? This has been an alright window if they get a centre-back through the door.
Yeah. It hasn't, like, made them odds-on to stay up necessarily. They're still in that group of 4 who are going to compete to stay up.
Yeah.
But has it given them the edge over Burnley? That's an open question. I mean, but I think it's definitely given them a fighting chance.
Can I just say I don't think it has. Not if they get woke through the door.
Yeah.
I mean...
Is there a better striker in Europe for what Burnley want to do than Wout Weghorst?
Maybe Kiefer Moore at Cardiff. The most prolific header of the ball I've ever seen.
Get out, mate, because the shot locations between Chris Wood and Wout Weghorst, if you put them on a piece of paper, they're identical. The guy is a consistent
He's never scored from outside the box, has he?
I think in terms of his non-penalty expected goals and assists, he's gone like 14, 15, 20 over the last 3 seasons.
That's great.
In a very defensive side as well.
Wolfsburg are absolutely mudded in this situation, by the way, because they're only 3 points off the drop zone, so they need Big Wout. And not only that, he's an absolute workhorse, mate. In the top 2% of presses.
Say it. Go on,
Europe.
say it. You're going to say it?
Yeah, I am. Wout Workhorse, mate. Change his name. What an absolute beast. And by the way, he's 6'6".
I mean, you've been banging on that drum since like the second How to Fix.
I'm obsessed
so
with
if
this
he comes
guy.
in and slaps for Burnley, you can take some credit for
honestly, if this guy comes in and does the business at Burnley, he's 6'6". He's a goal scoring supremo. I think if he comes in, I'm putting my money down now, he outscores Chris Wood second half.
Who knew you'd be so invested in Burnley's fight for survival at this point of the season?
Thing is, I'm not. I'm just invested in Wout.
Right, fair.
As long as he gets his goals.
It's also nice for Burnley from the point of view of like him fitting into the side. You want somebody who comes in and somebody who comes in and immediately speaks the language, like, is a really big factor. Like that'll be a factor with Bruno at Newcastle. I assume he speaks French. He obviously speaks Portuguese, but they're going to have to try and rely on like the French players to help bed him in. Whereas Wout Weghorst going to Burnley, like he's Dutch, he obviously speaks English. Sean Dyche is not exactly like a cosmopolitan man. I think that this probably suits him quite well for Wout to come in.
It might fall through, and if they don't get Wout Weghorst over the line and they don't get the Orisic deal over the line, then it's been a failure of a window for Burnley because they've lost one of their key assets in forward areas. But if they do, I think they've probably upgraded the squad overall.
Because Newcastle were no doubt thinking, listen, if we buy Chris for 27 million, don't mind paying a premium for him because it takes 5 goals off Burnley. And Burnley are like, listen, we're going to go out and get the same guy for pennies on the pound. So, I can fill in the gaps before we move on for Newcastle in terms of those leftover targets.
Centre-backs.
I had some ideas. I actually just thought the Torino boys were a good shout. In terms of goalkeeper, I noticed that Mattia Perin at Juventus and Alex Mere at Napoli both not getting minutes whatsoever, and Szczesny's still 32, 33. He's going to be there for a while, and Ospina is preferred to Mere at Napoli. They had lots of promise a couple of years ago. I think it might be wise to go in for a young goalkeeper like that. And I swear we do this for every middling team in the Premier League, but is Zinchenko not an option for them at left back? Like Man City, Pep Guardiola wanted to rebuild Man City this summer. Didn't happen, stuck with the same group of players. But I can see a bit of an overhaul happening this summer. And to facilitate that, they normally sell guys like Zinchenko for more money than they're worth.
Is he the right option though?
If we can get 25.
Have we seen him play at a back four
that might balance
that's
the books
up against the wall? Like really good on the ball. Obviously plays tidy football, and as that sort of interior wing back that can tuck in and play very, very nicely between the lines works. But backs to the wall in a back four. I'm not sure he's. I'd rather have Dan Burn at left back. I'd rather have Dan Burn at left back.
Oh yeah, but I mean, I kind of agree with Chris. Like, I think it would make a lot of sense if they can get him, but I don't know if he leaves in the middle of what is going to be a title-winning campaign.
True.
Yeah, but I think if he were to leave, I think he'd leave to play his preferred position, like as an attacking midfielder or as a winger. I don't think he's going to leave so that he can go and play left back for Eddie Howe in a relegation battle.
As well. It could be.
Well, I'd actually prefer him like, from that
option.
point of view. Like if they said to him, like, look, we're maybe going to play you as maybe we're going to go to a back three. We're going to try and get Dan Burn in, and Trippier's legs are kind of going a bit, and we're going to play you as a left wing back and expect you to do a lot more in attack. Maybe then he'd be like, okay, I can kind of see it. But I feel like, would you want to go to Newcastle where you're never on the ball and you're just like clattering people every week? I don't know. I'm not sure I'd do it, but he makes sense as a target.
Yeah. And then the last person I had was Charles de Ketelaere at Genk, is it? Is it Ghent?
No, it's Bruges, isn't it?
Club Bruges, you're right.
Yeah.
16 goals and assists in 23 starts. Yeah, I just like Belgium, the Jupiler Pro has produced some really solid strikers in the last 3 or 4 years, and I immediately went there. And I know he's overperforming XG wildly this season, but he's also someone that I think suits their needs at current. Like his pressing, his physicality is unreal. Like 21 pressures per 90, almost 1.5 tackles.
Not quite Wout levels.
As a forward. Well, beggars can't be choosers.
Can't all be Wout Weghorst levels.
He's a big guy though.
Yeah,
he's a big guy.
And he's got tons of resale value because he's only young. Very highly thought of like Champions League level clubs. So I think like going for that profile makes sense as well. Like, Callum Wilson's obviously dropped out. He offers something different to Wood in his mobility. So maybe go after a guy like that. But
all right, should we move on to a club that,
please,
at the time of recording, which is Friday at lunchtime, is definitely having a failure of a window? It's Tottenham Hotspur. What has happened last 48 hours here? Paratici is in. Honestly, he's in the mud.
I was here setting up. Joe walked through the doors and he went, 3 L's for Tottenham, is it? That was the first thing he said. Why do
you hate Tottenham so much?
I don't hate him, but what's happened last 48 hours?
You're enjoying it. Shade him for it.
It is very funny.
To PSG has seemingly fallen through at the time recording. Luis Diaz has gone to Liverpool. Adama's gone to Barca. Delhi to Newcastle ain't happening.
Yeah, but these don't count as much. Like, not getting rid of your outgoings, I don't think is as bad as not securing your incomings.
It is when you can't afford to buy anyone without those outgoings going out.
I don't know. I feel like they could probably have managed to get in, like, Adama.
They still bid for Diaz, was it 48 million euros
exactly,
without selling someone?
Yeah, yes. But you would think that also in the back of their head they had that Ndombele was going on loan to PSG, which is a saving of £200,000+ a week, which is a big old wage for Tottenham Hotspur. If that doesn't happen, I'm not sure where the wage for a Luis Diaz comes from, to be honest with you, because Adama Traore is one thing on loan. His wage is £45,000 a week at Wolves, and apparently might have taken a pay cut to go to Barcelona, which is almost comical. But Luis Diaz isn't taking 45 grand a week at Liverpool. I'm sure he'll be earning a little bit more than that. And it just feels like they've spent 28 days chasing Adama Traore.
They've been used by agents as
big time.
A stalking horse.
But I mean, Adama Traore, in the Athletic article, they wrote that he wasn't convinced about the right wing back role. How's it taking 28 days to figure that
But
out?
also, if that's stupid from him. If I get the chance to play under Conte and my career's stuttering and I'm approaching my mid-20s, I'm fucking doing it.
Yeah, but that's no comfort for Spurs being like, oh well, he's the idiot. Like, because Joe Joe is right. It shouldn't have taken them 4 weeks to be like, it turns out he doesn't actually want to play in that position we were trying to hire him for.
Absolute disaster.
How fucking hard is it to have that conversation?
He's a La
day
Masia
one?
boy, isn't he? He's part of that Spanish contingent, and it's
That's come out,
Barcelona, isn't it? Like, it has come out.
It's a hideous transfer, man.
Yeah, not the biggest fan of it either, but for Tottenham, it's disastrous because that's Conte's number one target not happening.
Very funny.
Luis Diaz was the other number one target.
And we all really like Diaz, right?
And for Liverpool, he's inevitably going to be fantastic. He's just like.
But isn't that the thing? Okay, that's the thing. Like, I trust. I have more confidence he'll be good now he's going to Liverpool than going to Spurs.
But there's no doubt because
I think their recruitment's better.
But both their recruitment's better and their system is so settled that you back Klopp to just go, okay, he fits there. If Klopp wants the guy and believes he can play in a front three, the reports are that they wanted to sign him in the coming summer, but have had to move up that bit of business because Tottenham's interest was so strong.
They're still getting below buyout.
Yeah, I think it's below buyout.
It's very
way
good.
Below buyout, isn't it?
It's like 60 million buyout. Looks like it's going to be 48, 49, including add-ons.
Yeah, which is not too bad for a player who I've watched in the Champions League and thought, fucking hell, who's this lad? Like, very frightening on the ball. I mean, the goal he scored at the Etihad, I mean, everybody must have just been like, what is this lad? And obviously, I think his 18 goal involvements, 18 games in Liga NOS. If you speak to anybody who watches Portuguese football regularly, they're like, this guy is just the best player to come out.
It's not without risk. It's not without risk. Like, I mean, obviously,
every signing for that league.
Yeah, but I mean, like, coming out of in the Portuguese league, I think he's taken and creating about 6 shots a game. In the Champions League, it's been about 3 dribbles a game. It's about 3, but it's a really different role that he's playing this season to the last couple of years. So you've basically got to say, we can get the production that he's got now he's in this new role while also getting the defensive production out of him we require. Now, obviously, Mane's defensive production has gone down a lot. He doesn't press that much anymore. But he's still making 2 tackles and interceptions a game. Luis Diaz is about 0.5. So, like, there are questions to be answered here. But, yeah, I think you're right. Like, it's Liverpool. It's like, he's going to do what we need him to do. We'll find. If he doesn't, he's not going to play. And if he doesn't play, it's also not that bad. It was kind of
like, Jota at 9 at first, and then, like, Jota totally works at 9 now. Liverpool.
Yeah, and totally also, it's just a fantastic position for Liverpool in terms of negotiations over contracts. Sadio Mane contract up in 2023, Salah contract up in 2023.
You're not as dispensable.
They can now come to, exactly, they can go to those meetings and go, okay, you want this? Well, we've just signed a £60 million replacement through the door now, so you are one of our best players, but we're not going to be held over a barrel because we've already got this replacement.
Maybe more so for Mane. Salah will probably still feel like he can hold them over a barrel.
I think if they can keep any one of them, they'll keep Salah, right?
Yeah.
But also it helps, Jota's form too, that they can say, like, Jota's form right now is as good as any Mane has had at Liverpool.
He's incredible.
I don't think that that's an unfair thing to say. Like, he's been absolutely unreal. And so, yeah, if Luis Diaz comes in and plays well at the beginning, then, yeah, they can just say, you know what, like, we're not going to pay you 250 grand for your retirement years, essentially.
And this was the first signing of the new. It was the passing of the torch from Michael Edwards, wasn't it, to Julian Ward? Obviously, Julian Ward was a guy who apparently undertook negotiations here, although the deal was structured by Michael Edwards, who, by the way, I don't know if you've heard this, rumoured to be going to Madrid.
Yeah, they've been talking about that, but I wondered if he'd do it because he's famously a smart guy.
Quite fun though. Sporting director of Real Madrid.
Yeah, but can you imagine with Florentino Perez? He'll be like, oh yeah, well this guy, we've scouted him and he looks great, like in our data. And Florentino Perez will be like, yeah, but I don't know his dad. And
we're signing Pogba.
We can't basically like finesse a deal through China using this player.
Let's bring it back to Tottenham though, because that's the club that we're saying has failed.
They probably had the worst.
I think the disappointing thing here, it's no shame losing out on Diaz to Liverpool, right? Because they only have like one main target, it seems, every year, and they normally get him. But it is annoying for Spurs fans that their plan B is like Sofian Amrabat from Fiorentina.
What's going on there?
It's just a body, though, isn't it?
Yeah, they need, but their plan B is warm bodies at this point. They need a pulse. It reminds me of like Jedson Fernandez turning up, in the Jose Mourinho era, and being like, here's someone that's going to get 0 minutes, sit on the bench and leave, and people won't even notice. I don't know.
I thought it was alone.
I don't know. Like he's a midfielder, but his stats are alarming. Like he's not even a nailed-on start for Fiorentina. I don't.
It's uninspiring, isn't it?
It is uninspiring. Maybe Paratici saw something in him while he was out in Italy that others don't. Maybe it was surprise us all.
Still, well, I just feel like it's just Conte, though, isn't it? It's like Yeah, he'll probably turn up and he'll be like much better than we expect. Antonio Conte is a wizard.
Definitely, but we do need to talk a little bit about Paratici, I think, here, because some of the decisions since he's come into the role, obviously appointed Nuno, signed Brian Hill, that hasn't really worked, has it?
Yeah, but that was always one for the future. He came in as like a little baby boy.
No, you don't
like
sign
20.
someone with that haircut.
Emerson Royale.
Yeah, I take that back.
Which hasn't really...
Rubbish.
Emerson Royale hasn't really worked. Brian Hill hasn't really worked. Nuno's obviously chopped. He's missed out on his two key targets for the next window and the first window of Conte. So I think Paratici, there's a bit of a question mark over his head right now.
You just said there, the funny thing about Emerson Royale is that Conte's come in, obviously... Paratici made up for the whole Nuno fiasco by getting Conte, right? Got his man. And then Conte's come in and he's been like, I need a new right back because that one you signed 3 months ago, not cutting the mustard for me.
Exactly. But that's a problem, isn't it? Because Fabio Paratici's done 25 mil on me.
But this is the thing with Paratici, right? Like... what we really praised Paratici for when he was at Juventus was spotting the old players who were available for free or for nothing, who they could still squeeze some value out of. And he had an advantage in that regard because he had Conte and Allegri, who were also great coaches at squeezing value out of those guys. And so was Juve's medical team.
And that worked in the league as well.
But that's the thing, when you're Spurs, you can't really take a guy from Juve because Juve, that whole league... Look, I'll defend Serie A, but Serie A is Juve's... and everyone knows it. And I think when you get somebody in who's basically had his pick of all the talent that's come through the Italian league, and then they go to Spurs, he's like, oh, we can do whatever we want here. We'll pick up whoever we want, and it's just a totally different job.
And all those freebies that you picked up, these aging stars, they got a good payday, didn't they?
Yeah.
Which I don't know if Spurs are necessarily in that situation right now, where they can offer top dollar to these free agents. But I mean, we back Romero to come good, right?
Definitely.
Pape Matar.
I think Emerson will be fine.
He's back on loan at Metz, right?
Yeah, I mean, he's a kid.
And he's young and he's still playing well.
What do we think of the Morata deal? I've seen rumours today that they are interested in Morata. They obviously are desperate for a backup to Kane, aren't they? But then...
We had a little disagreement about this.
They just haven't improved the first team. Like, where does Morata play in that 11?
It's a fair point.
He's moved very much to a 3-4-3. Well, in the majority of his games, with Lucas Moura playing a key role in that side. When Son's back fit, Moura has been really good under Conte, and Kane's there. Where does Morata play?
But do they need to improve the first team? Okay, like obviously you want to if you can, but financial resources are limited, and we were obviously a bit more positive about this than you, so I can understand a difference of opinion. But basically, the way Spurs' first team has been playing since Conte came in, they have been the fourth best side in the country. So the issue isn't so much can we improve that team because we need to make it Champions League quality, it's can we avoid a massive drop-off if somebody gets injured. And now with Morata they kind of can do that to some degree.
They're more than the sum of the parts under Conte, which are not necessarily the case under the previous 3 or 4 managers.
Would agree.
And like we said, if something happens to Harry Kane, that's when we're going to see the biggest drop-off. Just to reiterate the point Pat's just made.
I think the Morata deal is fine. I think it is fine.
I don't know how okay he's going to be with being... He'll probably be fine, won't he?
Yeah, but it's a fine move.
It's not a fiery character.
If you're a Tottenham fan, it's totally uninspiring, yet again.
I think it's smart. I would say it's smart.
I don't care. I wouldn't care about being uninspired. I care about whether I finish in the top 4, man.
Yeah, but I think Tottenham fans have had so many seasons of underinvestment to see yet another window pass and only 2 players coming on loan with no investment.
But they've got one of the best managers in the world, so shut the
But they haven't got the investment to support him. They haven't got the investment.
Yeah, but then you wait till the summer. Like, it's difficult to do business in January.
But I think their genuine fear is they might not have Conte in the summer if the investment isn't there for him now.
Would be amazing.
But if Kane does his knee, ankle, whatever next week, like what is the plan B at current? I would say that is in their top 3 problems to solve. Maybe even the top 1, rather than offloading Ndombele to PSG. Like, they are a Europa League side without a interested Harry Kane.
And I do agree that Morata fills that void perfectly, but the first 11, Conte has repeatedly said is nowhere near good enough in nearly every interview he's done.
So from your point
of
view,
not to improve it in the first window is there, I think, is not getting off on the right foot with Conte.
So your priority, if you were like in charge of transfers at Spurs, would be what transfers can we make to ensure that Conte doesn't quit?
Effectively to a level, but also I think that the right back situation in the first team needed improving. I think the centre back situation needed improving. I think they could have done with another central midfielder as well, and the backup to Kane. Like, obviously it's not going to all get done in one window, but to get none of them done, other than maybe Morata on loan, I think is.
But if you look at the 11 players. and the depth that comes beneath them. Like, the plan B could cost them Champions League up front, couldn't it? Whereas going from Skip to Winks, or trying to get Lo Celso firing, or trying to squeeze some more ability out of Emerson Royale, like that's more, he can deal with that.
We're hoping he can deal with that, because he might just lose his head. But I can see totally where you're coming from. Tottenham fans, let us know what you think in the comments below. Are you happy? Are you not happy with this window? Sticking in North London quickly then, because Arsenal, I think, might need to be talked about in this failure bracket, just by not getting the players they needed in midfield. Maybe another striker as well, after they very, very clearly pursued Dusan Vlahovic.
Yeah, I think the attack thing is a bit overblown. Like, I think of the midfield as a much bigger failure,
especially when Bruno's gone to Newcastle.
Yeah, it depends what the price is. It does depend what the price is, but yes, I agree, as in, like, he's absolutely the sort of player that Arsenal should be trying to get. But I don't know, like, I think the attack stuff, like, I'm just bored of hearing our stupid fans talk about it, like they're just idiots. Like, they're all just convinced that whichever young player we're linked to for more than 50 mil is incredible, and they all think that Lacazette's terrible. But they all said Lacazette was terrible a year ago and Aubameyang was great, and now look, Aubameyang's out of the squad and Lacazette is a starter in the best Arsenal side since Wenger left. So just shut up for a bit. Like Lacazette, his qualities, like, okay, there are problems in his game, like, he's old, but the qualities he has they do bring the best out of the players around him. And even in that Burnley game, like, he missed a big chance, but then afterwards everyone was talking like he was just like embarrassingly off the pace the whole match. And he wasn't, he was fine.
They're also masked quite well, his deficiencies, by the guys around him. Like Martinelli, if he's going to play as a reserved forward, like almost like a 10, then have a guy like Martinelli who can get beyond you, right?
Yeah, and you want that guy to drop deep and do a bit of creativity. And, like, there are players who are better but wouldn't necessarily be good at that. Like, don't get me wrong, upgrading in attack is definitely something Arsenal should do, but we always knew it was a tall order in January. And the fact that they failed for Vlahovic, I don't know, I suppose you could say it's a bit embarrassing, but, like, it doesn't really matter that much to me.
But Juve was always the pull.
God, that was nailed on,
and you've got no shot over Juve. Midfield is a much bigger issue, because I think there were available players. Like, we keep hearing Dennis Zakaria, you can have him for €7 million this month. It just feels like there are bargains to be had around in midfield, and it seems like Arsenal, as things currently are, they needed to strengthen, and it looks like they're going to come out of the window weaker than they went in. That is a colossal failure. So a bigger failure, I suppose, in a way, would be to commit money that you don't have, that doesn't fit in with the long-term project. Because I don't think anybody at the beginning of the season thought Arsenal were going to make top 4. If Arsenal finish 5th, it'll feel sad because it looked like they had a shot. But at the same time, that was much better than I think. It was much better than I thought it would be.
Progress FC.
Exactly. And the team's getting older, like, they're growing. But I do think that there are midfielders to be had, and if Arsenal don't come out of the window with one, I'm not quite sure what they're doing. I don't think it's that
Especially
hard.
having let Ainsley Maitland-Niles go out on loan, having let...
Yeah,
they're
not going to play.
They're obviously not going to play, but they are depth options.
And yeah, you look at Zakaria, like I say, 6 months left on his deal. Florian Grillitsch, 6 months left on his deal. Yeah. There are always loans to be done.
Definitely.
I just think, yeah, Bruno is another player. Like, it just feels like there are these options to be had.
Obviously, Artemelo's fallen by the wayside, hasn't it? I guess he was going to be their guy. That would have softened the blow somewhat.
But it's the same argument as Adama Traore, right? It's like, put all your eggs in this basket. If it doesn't pan out, you're going to be criticised for it. I mean, it hasn't panned out. So if they've got a backup plan, they get somebody in.
Yeah,
if they get in a midfielder, I think it's like par. It's all. It's not good, but it's like not.
Depends on the level of midfield.
You're not going to get Artemelo and Spurs if they don't want Paredes. Paredes might not be the worst shout for Arsenal if they can get him for 6 months on loan. But
no, I completely agree. I think that would be a really good sign.
Yeah, and PSG are definitely looking to offload players in this window for sure. So that's not the worst shout at all. Let's do some other teams then. Some of you guys were sending in suggestions on Twitter. El Shaddai says Leicester. Why has Brendan Rodgers not signed anyone? Why hasn't he gone and tried to sign a centre back?
I wish I had a better answer for you. It's not even... There's not been anything in the news.
Not seen a rumour.
Other than they were sort of semi-interested in Aberdeen's 18-year-old right-back, Calvin Ramsey. He was also been linked with Manchester United. That is the only defensive reinforcement I have seen them linked with, which is worrying because Sionku, without Johnny Evans, is a championship player. It is alarming. And Vestergaard, I think he's yet to win a game that he started for Leicester or featured in. Literally, the second half of the season pins on Fofana getting back into the side.
And he is back in training, I think, is he?
Like training, I think, yeah. And Didi being fit. They have suffered significantly with injury, but the plan B hasn't been good enough, yeah.
And if we say Ndidi, but if Ndidi has to play centre-back, then it leaves another hole in the midfield. Like
Samari and Tielemans can play together. It's not as defensively robust as when Ndidi's in there.
And it's just... you don't get the best Ndidi playing him at centre-back.
But you get a surprisingly decent Ndidi.
He's been very solid at centre-half.
And I think he works better in a back three.
And he's got range, which Vestergaard does not have.
But the simple fact is, we had to watch Hamza Chowdhury play in the defence.
Yeah, right centre-back.
Like 10 days ago, and was horrendous. And
I felt for him. I thought you did.
Yeah, obviously.
I thought he was the worst.
Role.
I honestly thought he was the worst player on the pitch.
But
I did feel for him.
They haven't bought even a loan move in this January window just to try and cover for 6 months to get an extra body into the squad when you're playing Hamza Chowdhury as a centre back, I think is madness. It's a team very much akin to Leicester with injury problems. Leeds' lack of business, I think, is bizarre.
And when you see guys like Callum Chambers, sorry, just to carry on the Leicester thing, go for it looks like maybe nothing,
maybe zero,
but like very little at least. And he's homegrown. He's I think he's still 25, 26.
Versatile enough to play in 3 different positions.
Yeah, like that would be all right for Leicester. I don't know that sort of move. And I don't know. I mean, Villa, it seems like have quite a lot of pulling power now, but I'd be tempted to go to Leicester if I were that kind of player.
I mean, Villa have done great business there in terms of like nobody knew it was happening, just over the line very quickly, and it's not the first time they'll do that.
I mean, it helps when no one cares, but yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the fact that like Leicester weren't just slightly involved in things like this is just really weird, isn't it? Just to go back to the Leeds thing, I think honestly, they've let Bielsa down. I think that. Strategically this summer, obviously this winter, they obviously went for Aronson, didn't they? Out in
Salzburg.
At Salzburg, and they went in heavy, went in 2 bids, £20 million, I think, and now they're not going to go in for the third. And if they I'm telling you, if they let Somerville go out on loan and don't bring in another player to cover for Somerville, who I think is an excellent player. It's a comical window.
Yeah. Aronson or bust feels weird. If you're prepared to bid 20+ million on a player, it feels weird not having another one lined up.
Right? Well, it's because they really want him. They want him hard, don't they? So they're going to get him in the summer. And if they don't get him in this window,
I get that he's the right profile of player.
But if they get him in the summer, fine, whatever. But to have Calvin Phillips long-term injury, Bamford long-term consistent injuries, if Rafinha gets injured, they are so deep in the mud.
But even
in terms of depth.
But even then, is Aronson like their most pressing need? Like this is the thing. Like Aronson, I think it would be a really exciting signing for them, but he's not going to cover for Phillips, is he?
No, he's not, but he can operate in that sort of frontline area where they've also been decimated with injuries. And he can also operate in sort of the link role between the midfield and the attack, which they've had none of without Calvin Phillips' passing range.
But in the same way that Chris was saying, we think that Conte can squeeze more out of midfield and kind of right wing back. I think that Bielsa, if there's one area he can squeeze, it's attack. He's going to get numbers out of them. Where I worry is like midfield and defence. I think that's where missing personnel really hurts Leeds.
Yeah, it's just all over.
They've got a couple players.
Surprised.
Like Bamford's coming back. Obviously Harrison's coming into some form. Like
Phillips, they need Phillips back.
Yeah, they'll be fine.
They'll be fine, absolutely. But they've missed a chance, I think.
And I think that's why they've probably not pushed any further business, because there's just 4 or 5 shitter teams in them. Yeah,
you might be right. And they obviously are backing it. They're going to go so big again for Aronson in the summer. They're probably backing it. Man United, also a bit of a shout out. I think have had a bit of a failed window, not signing a central midfielder. Obviously, their dream one isn't available, but not getting a body in there. And also the outgoings have been a pretty much disastrous situation with Lingard. They've left that 6 months too late. He is going to leave. He isn't going to leave. What's going on behind the scenes? He's fallen by the wayside. Like, I don't mind the Martial move because he's gone to Sevilla, who are
they covering all his
a decent side covering. He's taking a wage drop to go there, and then they're going to cover all of that wage drop.
That's pretty good.
And he's probably going to start for them, right? You'd imagine that
he needed to move.
Exactly, and whoever comes in the summer might fancy Anthony Martial. You never know. That Poch might come in and go, I actually want Martial. He has really good 6 months at Sevilla, proves that he can do it, and ends up going to the World Cup. And Poch, it might work out, but still haven't got rid of Donny, still haven't got rid of Lingard. No midfielder through the door. I think it's been a bit of a failure.
Yes, particularly like failing with those players, right? The ability to do right by them.
Yeah.
Like Donny, I feel like just still hasn't had his chance.
What do you think of the Crystal
End
Palace?
Up at Palace is weird. Yeah.
I don't think it's a good destination.
Has that happened?
Well, they're in advanced talks apparently, but I can see it collapsing.
It's fine.
Where does he play? Who's he playing over? Gallagher?
No.
Eze? Elise?
He's the backup
Will Hughes?
to Gallagher.
Well,
is
they're
he
playing
not, right now?
4-3-3, aren't they? And they've got like the tenacity comes through MacArthur. Gallagher's on that right-hand side. I mean, the left.
But Elise has recently been incredible on that right-hand side.
No, but he's
Gallagher
like,
playing in the
but he's the right-hand side of the front three.
I'm
right?
talking the midfield
the
three.
He means like
three,
the
yeah.
interiors.
So Gallagher in that midfield three starts on the right. The left field's a little bit more interchangeable. Maybe Donny he'd be like the conduit to attack down
But Will
that flank.
Hughes is playing so consistently.
Will Hughes, but maybe you don't need James MacArthur and Will Hughes in the same team. That's what they're thinking.
And Kiarte's coming back from AFCON.
And Donny
He
gives
can
you
play in
more,
defence as well, can't he?
Donny gives you more defensive work rate than Will Hughes.
I'm not sure he does.
I think he does. Like, I mean, his numbers historically have been like pretty solid defensively. Like,
But
he gives you an extra runner.
Will Hughes, in the absence of Kiarte, has acted as like the lone six almost at times. Like I really hope it works for Donny. I really hope it works. But I've got images of him going there and then struggling for game time. It's Gallagher who wants to get in the same advanced positions as him. And does he want to sit and let Gallagher go and fly into the box? It's not the dream destination, I don't think.
No.
But I don't think he can go to a Valencia, which has also been linked. I think he has to stay in the Premier League and prove to Manchester United that he can play in the Premier League physically.
I wouldn't mind him going to Valencia. They're playing well. Is it Jose Bordalas?
Yeah.
And like, I would just say go anywhere where you're going to get minutes. He's lost his identity as a player. People don't know whether he should play in a double pivot, whether he should be an attacking midfielder. Like, just go and get some minutes somewhere, man.
Any other clubs? Martial. We've got Chelsea down here. Says Matthew Arua not signing a left wing back. Obviously, that Chilwell. They've tried their best to get Emerson back. It hasn't happened. They've got recalled Kennedy. You know, they're going to risk it with Alonso.
They've signed the Derby youngster, right, as well.
Yeah, but to be honest with you, I don't think they're going to operate with a wing-back system going forward over these next sort of 3 or 4 months. I think we've seen a pretty clear shift to a back four under Thomas Tuchel.
And they look really well. They're really entertaining against Spurs in that 4-1-4-1
with Malang Sarri in that left-back position. I just think that he's going to try and figure out a fix tactically rather than in the market and then look to address it.
I liked his interview after the Spurs game when he was like, maybe we'll play like this a little bit more often, because Ziyech did look incredible on that right hand side, sort of interchanging with Mount on that flank.
Get hold of him.
That was a tasty proposition, wasn't
Callum Hudson-Odoi had Tanganga on toast.
Yeah. Well, in the second half,
once he got booked.
The best suggestion I can think of, and Val the Sea Pigeon said Brighton, because they haven't signed a first team striker since 2019, although they did sign Danny Welbeck. I think he corrected himself, to be fair. I think just get Kramaric on a free. I feel like Kramaric could be class for Brighton.
Yeah, they do need a penalty box poacher.
See, he's my Lacazette replacement.
Right.
Like, if Arsenal don't re-up Lacazette in the summer, I think they should go for a big striker and they should see if they can get Kramaric on a free, because he's probably one of the best kind of facilitating centre forwards around. He'd be amazing at Brighton. I actually would love that, because he's really creative, incredibly good on the ball, adds a little bit of experience, I guess, to that side. Yeah, great. That's a really fun one.
And the reports they're still interested in Delhi, which is, I think, your suggestion from a few weeks ago, actually, Pat.
Yeah, sure.
So if that happens, that could be another Sunday Vibes call after the same week where Gazzetta was copying Chris Hamill's suggestion of Dybala going to Manchester City. Let's move on to some quick fire questions then, shall we? Unless you've got another suggestion for fails.
You've already done one. The Wout is about Wout Weghorst, the top one.
Big wow. Yeah, he's 6'6". He will do well at Burnley. Rizzo, Tottenham Hotspur Football Club, says, how highly do you rate Joshua Zirkzee?
I feel like I've let everyone down here because I was going to watch a bit of Zirkzee before we filmed this. I just totally forgot about him. He's killing it out in the Jupiler Pro.
Pat, do you know
I haven't really watched a great deal of him. I hope he's good, for partisan reasons, but like...
Oh, I just totally forgot to watch
no
any
idea.
clips of him.
Right, so you put that question in the script so you can answer it, and it's just collapsed.
No idea.
That's
our take.
Dom Sullivan 18 says, quick fire thoughts on the promotion battle in the Championship.
Come on, why don't you say this one?
I mean, I
champ.
think that Forest have risked an awful lot this January. They've had a good January, keeping Brennan Johnson. Obviously, Brentford bid 20 mil for Brennan Johnson, which is a lot of money for a Championship attacking midfielder, and they've rejected it. And they've rejected multiple advances in the hope that they make the playoffs. They're only 1 point off the playoffs. They're unbeaten in January.
Which is unreal given where they were.
They've also
under
managed
Keaton.
to keep Joe Worrell. They've managed to keep Jed Spence this window.
I think he's on loan, isn't he?
He's on loan
from Middlesbrough. There's chat he was not going to be there.
Going to be recalled,
season.
right?
I don't know whether it was recalled or somebody was going to buy him from Middlesbrough.
Yeah, he was linked to Arsenal and a bunch of teams.
Capitulated. So they've managed to keep all these players. They've buffered back this Johnson interest.
Rebuffed.
if it doesn't work and they don't make the playoffs, then I think they'll regret not selling Brennan Johnson at 20 mil. But fingers crossed they do, man, because at least I like the ambition of it. I mean, other clubs in and around the mix, you know, West Brom.
Under Ishmael.
He's got to go.
He's got to
go. Honestly.
Because of the brand of football they play.
Two of my West Brom supporting friends, I've never seen them despise a manager.
Do you have two friends who support West Brom?
Ismail. He is just playing the worst brand of football.
Maybe go back to Barnsley. They've fallen by the wayside of that, haven't they?
The fact that today they've signed Andy Carroll to stick up front. Right. They are, all over. They should be one of the better teams in the Championship, and they play one of the worst football in the division. Honestly, they are a catastrophe to watch, but they might do enough to get them up there. But is anybody surprised? When Vladimir Ishmael was at Barnsley, they played the ugliest brand of football, but it was effective. They've just taken the exact same brand of football with better players, and they're still just lumping it up.
Yeah, that's what all managers do, though. Really, they basically play the same way wherever they go.
It suited the club more than Barnsley more than it suited West Brom.
And West Brom fans, I don't think are going to stand for it. So if Vladimir Ishmael doesn't, Valerian Ishmael, sorry.
Valerian's a great name.
Like the 2-0 loss against Preston North End midweek. There was major fan backlash.
Yeah.
I think a couple more results like that and he could be in the mud.
I knew you'd talk about Forest, by the way, because on Winners and Losers about 3 weeks ago, we touched upon Forest, and Joe just had all this background info about Forest.
I like using them on Football Manager, to be fair, so I would like to see Forest.
I just always assume that you've been given one of those information packs.
No, I would like to see Forest come up. I always think, I hope Forest make the playoffs, but yeah, I mean, I think I'm going to put my money down. I think they will.
I always just root for Fulham. I root for Fulham.
Well, Fulham are going to win the Championship.
Yeah, their attack is so hilarious.
I mean, the fact that Alexander Mitrovic is scoring at the rate he is still doesn't justify the $100,000 a week they're paying him in the Championship. I'm sorry.
What?
If it gets them up,
the fact is almost justifying it is hilarious.
It's true. I mean, he is going to end up on 40 goals, though, isn't he?
But the attack is absolutely staggering.
I know, and they are going to keep hold of Fabio Carvalhos now, at least, because there was rumours that he was going to go to Liverpool, of course, in this window, but that's not going to happen because they've signed Luis Diaz. He's out of contract in the summer. I was speaking to Big Henry yesterday about Fabio Carvalhos. He's not quite ready for that Liverpool step now, but in the summer might go to Liverpool. But at least that means they're guaranteed 6 more months.
He's called Fabio.
He has been key. I think he's got 10 goal involvements in 14 starts for them this season. So.
Isn't he just nailed on for Wolves? He's called Fabio Carvalho.
Yeah, but he's English. Well, he's Portuguese descent, and he joined the Fulham Academy age 11, I think, and then has kind of progressed.
I bet Mendes has been getting birthday presents every year since about 12.
So I'm not sure which nationality he actually represents at youth team level. I think
either way, class.
England. I think it is England, isn't it? But he's got a bit of Portuguese descent in him.
Yeah, I'm impressed with your Championship knowledge there. I've not dipped my toe in quite some time, but I did like that when Celtic signed Matt O'Reilly from MK Dons. He had an unbelievable debut, by the way. That Swansea were also in for him. Because Swansea still is under Russell Martin now, still playing great football, and anyone that is, when we're simultaneously in for a player against Swansea, I always think, well, good scouting pedigree there.
And fingers crossed,
past masters.
Rooney completes the miracle. If Rooney keeps Derby up, it's one of the greatest feats in Championship history. To be in a 21-point deficit and with a squad that is decimated.
Tom Lawrence has been unreal.
Yeah, he has, but he has to play in about 15 positions because they've got no players. To have players like the Phil Jagielka contract getting pulled out on the last minute, 21-point deficit, I think they're 8 points from safety now. It's very possible. It's very possible. They should be 10th in the league, I think, by their points tally. They show about 35, 36 points. So fingers crossed Rooney keeps them up because that would actually be class to see.
Yeah, it'd be amazing.
Yeah, Warburton's doing a good job at QPR as well. I'm trying to think of what else I can add. I don't think anything of any substance.
I actually don't think there's that many great Championship sides at the moment. The fact that QPR are in and around the playoffs, I think.
Yeah. Someone signed Ilias Chair. And then let's move on.
Honestly, I think the fact that QPR are in around the playoffs speaks volumes of the standard of the league. But
all that Championship knowledge and then a dig at the end.
I had to get a QPR dig in there, just focus on James Alcott. Right, let's finish with a personal one then. This is awful, but it's from Brickland. Top 5 fruits of all time.
Yeah, because people like it when we rank foods, don't they?
Fruits.
Mango, number 1.
Mango is class.
Watermelon. Also
blueberries, not because of the taste, but because of the health benefits.
No, but I like
that applies to all of these.
I like blueberry flavoured sweets more than any other sweet.
Okay.
So
unusual.
I'll accept blueberry.
So I think mango's definitely up there.
Mango, watermelon, pineapple.
Watermelon.
I wouldn't mind if blueberry wasn't on there.
I think kiwis are an underrated fruit.
No.
Kiwis are sick. I like a sweet but sharp.
I don't know. I feel like McCubbin's ruined them for me because he eats the skin.
Oh yeah, people do that. Apparently really
Nah,
good for you.
I'm
Lots
not
of fibre in it, but I can't really bring myself to do it.
Kiwi skins behind
When
the
you've
camera.
watched
Do you just eat
McCubbins,
it like an apple, Henners?
Oh.
Yeah, just bite into it.
When you-
I've got to say that would be a lot more convenient than the way you
Than
do eat
scooping
it. Yeah, like scooping it out like a f***ing caveman with a broken bone.
hate bananas. Someone will mention banana in the comments. Mushy little
They
dickheads,
give me
mate. Hate 'em.
indigestion.
No,
Yeah.
I just eat less ripe.
No, when
bananas.
you get the
I like a
string
banana.
from inside the banana skin,
That
it makes my
raspberry.
skin
I
crawl.
like a raspberry.
Raspberry.
I like a raspberry. I like a
Raspberries.
strawberry.
Blackberry.
Good on a yogurt. With a yogurt. even.
Overall,
lot
we
of-
just said we like a lot of fruit.
There are a
We
lot of
haven't
fruits that
ranked
are
anything.
overrated. Passion fruit overrated. Dragon fruit horrendous.
Pomegranate seeds
No, pomegranates. I love pomegranates.
Good in
man.
a salad.
I love pomegranates.
overrated, mate.
But
They're
it's
about
a
three-
project.
It's about £3 for a pack of
Eat-
pomegranates.
They are spinning.
No, you got to do it yourself. And eating a pomegranate is like an operation. And if it stains anything you've got, there's no getting it out. It stains your fingers for days. But yeah, I've got to say, mango, watermelon, pineapple.
I think
probably
mango
my
might
top
be the
three.
one.
Okay, we'll give it mango then. Give it mango to the end of the season, and that will wrap up Sunday
Yeah.
Vibes for another
Nice.
week's episode. Before we go, remember to go to manscaped.com, type in the code FootballDaily20 to get 20% off all of their products and free shipping. Get yourself in good condition for Valentine's Day, like Christopher Hamill will be over here. Podcast this week, just you and Dukes, was it?
Yeah, me and Doogie. We talked about, actually, it's kind of opposite. We talked about how Liverpool might think about lessening the burden on Sadio Mane over the next few years and how they might replace him in the long term. And so we talked about some leading candidates
Did you
for
mention
that position.
Luis?
Diaz. We talked about
There we
Christopher
go.
Nkunku. We talked about...
Jared Bowen.
He talked about Jared Bowen.
I'll put him on the thumbnail. So
and somebody
hopefully.
else who I don't remember. But yeah, it was an interesting one, actually.
There we go. Anything you want to plug?
Go and watch our latest Explained on the African Super League over on Euro Football Daily because it's absolutely killing it.
It is, yeah. Thanks very much for watching, everybody. Hope you enjoyed it. See you later. Bye.